Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, a major division in the Israeli government between Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over who will rule Gaza after the war is over. We'll take a look at how this is playing out. And it comes as Israel is chasing Hamas fighters into areas they had previously cleared out. Investing in Israel as some universities have given in to demands by pro-Palestinian protesters to divest from Israel. We're going to hear from the head of a biblically based mutual fund company about why they're sticking with their investments in the Jewish state. The showdown is set. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump ready to rumble in a pair of presidential debates in the months ahead. We're going to take a look at how they came about and the implications for both candidates. And an unusual marriage proposal followed by an unusual wedding. You've probably never seen a marriage come together like this before. We're going to show you exactly what happened. All those stories and more today, right here on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Lots to get to this half hour. We're going to begin in Israel with a major division in the government between the defense minister and the prime minister over who will rule Gaza after the war is over. That split coming as Israel is going after Hamas fighters again in areas it previously cleared out months ago. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
As the fighting intensifies in central and northern Gaza, a friendly fire incident near the Jabalia refugee camp left 5 Israeli soldiers dead and 7 more wounded. The renewed fighting as Hamas regroups in areas once cleared by the IDF is fueling internal disagreements over ruling Gaza after the war is over. Israel's defense minister is blaming Netanyahu because he hasn't helped other Gazans take control.
I call on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to make a decision and declare that Israel will not rule over civilian affairs in Gaza. There won't be Israeli military rule in Gaza, and an alternative leadership to Hamas in the Gaza Strip will be advanced immediately.
Netanyahu says no Palestinian leaders will step up to govern until Hamas is wiped out.
Until it is clear that Hamas does not control Gaza militarily, no party will be willing to take over the civilian management of Gaza for fear of its safety. Therefore, the talk about the day after, when Hamas remains intact, will remain just talk, empty of content.
The U.S. Secretary of State again demanded Israel come up with a day-after plan. The U.S. is pushing for a two-state solution with the Palestinian Authority in charge. But Netanyahu says the PA is unacceptable because it supports, funds, and educates for terror.
There's a non-Hamas civilian administration there with an Israeli military responsibility, overall military responsibility. That's the only thing that would work. But there's one precondition. You know, the day after Hamas is the day after Hamas. The day after Hamas is destroyed. You can't have it both ways.
Meanwhile, the International Court of Justice begins hearings today on South Africa's request to stop Israel's offensive against Hamas battalions in Rafah. Egypt, the first Arab country to sign a peace treaty with Israel, is now joining that effort. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
I want to continue following these developments right now with our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. He's joining us from Jerusalem. So, Chris, can you elaborate some more on the disagreement between Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, Ephraim, some see this as another attempt by the U.S. to undermine the Netanyahu government. Karen Glick, somebody we've reported on or interviewed many times, has reported that Secretary of State Blinken spoke with Gallant this past Sunday. Now the U.S. is coming out in favor of Gallant's position. And the purpose seems to be to build a Palestinian state in Gaza and actually maybe save Hamas, but certainly to have the Palestinian Authority, take over. And for many Israelis, and including Prime Minister Netanyahu, that's really a non-starter. Fatah, which is the political arm of the Palestinian Authority, is implicated in many of terror attacks. There was a Knesset member that posted on X a video of Fatah fighters, and not Hamas fighters, firing rockets. And so they're very part of the Palestinian Authority. And we've reported, as we have many times, Ephraim, many and maybe most Israelis are not in favor of a Palestinian state in Gaza. They know what happened with Hamas, and many are leery of the PA as well. And if you listen to the official media of the PA, they're in favor of one-state solution, not a two-state solution, a Palestinian state replacing a Jewish state. And one other thing about Netanyahu, you know, a few weeks ago, there was some clans. It was proposed that they could govern Gaza after Hamas was defeated. Some of those members were killed by Hamas. So nobody wants to really stick their head right now and say they want to govern Gaza after Hamas.
So how significant is this? Will this likely lead to any changes in Israel's military strategy?
Well, it is significant, and since we're talking about the defense minister, maybe it would affect the conduct of the war. We do know that the U.S. has, for months now, tried to slow down the war significantly. Some Israelis and Israelis I've talked to, that they believe the IDF should have gone much faster and in prosecuting the war. And remember, Netanyahu did actually fire Gallant at one time. This was before the war. It was when Gallant came out publicly against Netanyahu on the issue of judicial reform. So obviously there is some history between the two leaders, and we'll see how it may impact the prosecution of the war going forward.
Chris, Egypt is now going against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Are there concerns in Israel about their relationship with a key Arab ally?
Well, some Israeli analysts say really could have a widespread effect here in the region. That's because other nations in the region, like the UAE and Iran as well, they're watching to see if Egypt will actually turn on Israel. Remember, they have the longest standing peace treaty here in the Middle East. And reportedly, Egypt is outraged at how Israel handled the Rafah operation by sending so many troops and tanks into a sensitive area right on the Gaza Egyptian border. It could be why Egypt has joined South Africa at the International Court of Justice. And it could be one more way that would isolate Israel in the regional arena. But we'll see what happens. But certainly, it's a very significant development between what's happening with Israel and Egypt.
Israel has released new numbers on the death toll in Gaza. What is the government saying?
Well, they're saying the ratio of non-combatants to fighters is 1-to-1. It's historically low. Netanyahu says Israel has done what no other army has done to minimize civilian casualties. Now, how do they do that? And we've talked about this before, Ephraim. They drop leaflets. They send text messages, phone calls by the millions. They tell Gazans exactly where to go. They give them maps to which neighborhood they should go to. And we've reported as well on how Hamas has been inflating figures for their propaganda value. However, much of the media and even world leaders like President Biden have repeated those numbers put out by the Ministry of Health that's overseen by Hamas. And what that does is kind of fuel accusations of genocide that's heard around the world. And this is really part of Hamas's strategy. We've seen it in this war, and we've seen it in many other conflicts in the past.
What's happening in the fighting with Hezbollah on the northern border?
Well, Ephraim, we're seeing a war of attrition. We've reported that there's been 1,700 rockets and missiles fired by Hezbollah up on the northern border. And what it's done is maybe 100,000 Israelis have left the border. Just last week, we talked with one of those who's been 7 months out of his home. He's living in a kibbutz right now. There are just thousands that are not living in their homes. We also interviewed a visiting American, and what he said, it's important for people to understand that we're having a sovereign nation, then they don't have the right to exist. They have the right to exist in safety and security, but are being prevented from doing that. And especially in the north, where it's really rolled back the territory where Israelis are living by several miles. And so this condition, this situation on the northern border is something that's festering. Right now, the focus is more on Gaza, but pretty soon we think there might be the IDF will taking more action up on the northern border with Hezbollah.
All right, Chris Mitchell reporting from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for the update. Know that we continue to pray for your safety as well as the safety of our team there on the ground. Coming up, pro-Palestinian protesters on college campuses have been pushing for their schools to pull their investments out of Israel. And some universities are giving in, but we're going to hear from a mutual fund president who has been investing in Israel for years, and he explains why he's not pulling out anytime soon. We'll have that story for you when we come back.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning. Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Plus, get exclusive stories and daily scripture encouragement just for you. Stay informed. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
Pro-Palestinian protesters are pushing for a divestment in Israel as Israel moves forward with its military operation in Rafah. A growing number of colleges and universities have given in to the protest demands. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, we're going to hear from the president of the Timothy Plan Mutual Fund, Art Ally, the son of a Palestinian immigrant who says his group is still investing in Israel because he believes the Gaza war is a spiritual battle.
The Amalek spirit has been forever attacking Israel and attacking God ultimately. And Israel, I fully support them 100%. They are not offensive. They are defending themselves. They have a right to exist. And, you know, for these universities and all that have been indoctrinated and then easily led by paid agitators, is an embarrassment to the United States of America. Israel is our greatest ally, and we ought to be supporting them 100%.
All right, we've seen Northwestern, Rutgers, Brown, other universities caving into the demands of protesters to consider divesting. Even Columbia's Union Theological Seminary, that's a Christian school, says it's divesting from companies doing business with Israel. So your take?
Well, we have an Israel fund that will only invest in companies based in Israel. And what when we launched that, Gary, I guess, I don't know, about 10 years ago, the reason we launched it had nothing to do with economics. And it's a horrible admission for the president of a mutual fund company to say. It had to do everything to do with our support for Israel. Israel was not getting a lot of love from America at the time and still isn't right now. But what I learned, Gary, is Israel is the most powerful economic culture in the world. Israel's culture there is incredible. They lead the world in so many innovative things, from technology to medical to all the others. So we are very pleased with being able to invest in Israel. So now it is an economic good thing, as well as us showing support. So they can divest or do anything they want.
I know you haven't backed off from that. So how has the Gaza war affected your investments?
Well, it hasn't. When the war started, everything in Israel collapsed, including our fund and the index that we track. However, it didn't take very long for it to bounce right back. And, you know, that fund is up for the year. And what people have come to realize is, as awful as this sounds, war is very good for the economy. So these companies are doing well. Israel has, this is nothing new to them. They've been under attack ever since 1948, surrounded by people that want to end the chant of from the river to the sea. I've been to Israel numerous times, and, you know, one of the leading Israeli people that addressed us over in the Hall of Independence commented on that. He says, you know what, they're not going to be satisfied until they push us into the sea. What they don't realize is Jews don't swim. That's what the guy said. I said, what do you mean? They don't swim. You know, Jesus walked on water. Moses went through the Red Sea on dry ground. Jews don't swim. They're not going anywhere, and they have a full right to defend that country that God carved out for them.
And I'm sure, Art, that some people would criticize Timothy Fund, saying, well, you promote being a moral fund, yet you're supporting investments in a war that's killed 35,000 Palestinians. So how do you respond to them? What do you say?
Well, I just asked them to look at who started the war. You know, Israel is defending their right to be there. They are not the aggressor. They have a right to defend themselves. And unless they obliterate this evil demonic horde that for no reason is trying to attack and destroy them and eliminate them.
What advice do you give Christians and Jews who want to stand by Israel, but also they want to help Palestinian people without helping Hamas? How can they do that when Hamas controls the humanitarian aid that's going in?
We support a ministry over there in Jerusalem, Hope for Israel, that goes into war-torn areas and helps, whether they're Arab or whether they're Jew. They're human beings, and they have a right to exist. So Israel is not singling out Palestinians over there, and that's a made-up name anyway, for extermination. They are defending themselves. And they are taking great pains beyond what any other country would do, from what I've seen, to eliminate, casualties of innocent people. But they have to, and these attackers, they use innocent people. They hide behind them. They put them up front. They want this kind of thing to be in the public headlines, and as a result of that, they think they're accomplishing something. But you know what? God is ultimately in control of this whole situation, and he will take care of it.
Okay, Art Alley, founder and president of Timothy Plan. Thank you for being with us.
Man, Gary, it's been my honor. Thank you.
Also on this week's episode of The Global Lane, a Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity is coming soon. Could past and future presidents go to jail? And the United Methodist Church bans restrictions on gay clergy and same-sex marriage. You can see that on The Global Lane this evening on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can watch it on YouTube. Still ahead, it looks like the showdown is set. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump scheduled to debate twice before the upcoming election. But there'll be a different style of debates than what we've seen in the past. We're going to explain right after this. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump set to go head-to-head after agreeing to 2 debates before the November election. But as Charlene Aaron shows us, the political showdowns come with a few strings attached.
The first debate between President Biden and former President Trump is set for June 27th on CNN, with a second to follow on ABC in September, the earliest general election presidential debates in U.S. history. Trump has been challenging Biden for months.
I'm trying to get him to debate.
The president responding Wednesday.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice.
Trump responding on social media, just tell me when. I'll be there. Let's get ready to rumble. The debates will be televised, but include departures from traditional formats like no live audience, limited news outlets, and muting a candidate's mic after speaking. The first debate in June comes before either candidate is officially nominated by their party.
Early voting is now so prevalent, almost half the country is voting before Election Day. And there were concerns that the debates, if they're backloaded in October, are missing tens of millions of Americans who might be making up their mind.
On CBN's Faith Nation, Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections, said the haggling over details might derail these debates.
I'm a little skeptical that it's all a done deal, right? It just all seems a little bit too easy.
He also shared expectations heading into the contests.
From the Trump campaign, you see someone who is anxious to debate someone who they think is not up for the job and physically unable to debate or hold the job of president. And from the Biden campaign, I think you see an opportunity. They see an opportunity to show that he is up for the job.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Shifting gears as we return, an unusual marriage proposal followed by an unusual wedding. We're going to show you what happened when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
A day of celebration for an Arkansas couple and their church when Samara Hernandez decided to get baptized on Sunday at the Summit Church in Little Rock. Her boyfriend, Tim Davis, was right by her side. Showing his support runs deeper, he also got down on one knee and proposed on the church stage.
I love you so much, and I can't wait to just follow Christ with you for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me?
The excitement didn't stop there, though. The couple decided while at their church they may as well get married there, too. Planning a wedding ceremony in one afternoon. They tied the knot the Sunday evening with friends and family, putting a bow on an unforgettable day. All the best to them. Time now for your Thursday Thankful. I invite you to join me in this prayer of gratitude. God, I thank you that I can sing. All my life you have been faithful, and all my life you've been so, so good. With every breath that I'm able, I will sing of the goodness of God. God, thank you for your goodness. With that prayer, I pray you fill this entire Thursday with thankfulness. An attitude of gratitude goes an incredibly long way. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel at any time. We'll see you back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.